What if Earth became flat? Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more mind-bending what if explorations. This is one of the strangest thought experiments ever. What would truly happen if our planet, instead of being a sphere, suddenly became completely flat? At first glance, it might not seem so different. The ground beneath your feet would still feel solid. The sky would still stretch above you, and the sun would continue to rise and set. But the deeper we look, the more everything begins to unravel. On a spherical Earth, gravity works in a simple way. It pulls everything toward the planet's center. That's why oceans curve with the globe, why mountains don't collapse sideways, and why we can walk, build, and live without the world feeling tilted. On a flat Earth, gravity would not pull uniformly down. Instead, it would draw everything toward the center of the disk. At the central regions, life might seem almost normal, but the farther one moved toward the edges, the more skewed reality would become. Water would flow sideways, objects would tilt unnaturally, and entire landscapes would feel distorted, as if the ground itself were sliding out from under you. The oceans present an even stranger challenge. Without a sphere to contain them, the waters would not remain spread evenly. Gravity would gradually pull them inward, gathering seas and rivers toward the center of the disk. Vast central superoceans would form, leaving the outer lands increasingly barren and dry. The edges of the Earth might turn into cracked deserts or icy wastelands, while the middle would drown under colossal bodies of water. The entire hydrological cycle, evaporation, rainfall, and circulation, would collapse into chaos. The skies would change too. On our round Earth, the horizon curves, creating the familiar experience of watching the sun dip below it. But on a flat plane, the sun would not disappear in this way. Instead, it would simply shrink into the distance, fading like a lantern carried away across an endless field. Day and night would no longer be regular across the globe. The regions closest to the sun's path would alternate between scorching exposure and total darkness, while the edges of the disk might exist in a strange, permanent twilight. Time zones, as we know them, would vanish. Seasons would become unpredictable, and agriculture, the very foundation of human civilization, would struggle to survive. Then there is the matter of physics itself. Satellites rely on orbit, which is only possible around a sphere. In a flat world, orbiting bodies could not exist. GPS, telecommunications, and weather monitoring systems would fail immediately. Our entire modern infrastructure, built on global connections, would collapse. Humanity would return to localized existence, cut off from distant lands not because of geography but because of the breakdown of technology. Astronomy would also fall apart. In a universe where Earth is flat, the laws of celestial mechanics would need to be rewritten entirely. The moon's movement, tides, eclipses, and planetary orbits would no longer follow predictable patterns. The cosmos would appear alien, with phenomena we could not explain under the physics we know. This would shake not only science but also philosophy, religion, and culture, forcing humanity to question whether reality itself is governed by laws at all, or whether some hidden force sustains a flat Earth against the logic of nature. The edges of such a world raise perhaps the most unsettling question. What happens there? If the disk has a boundary, is it a sheer drop into a cosmic void? A wall of ice, as some old myths suggest? Or is it endlessly expanding, stretching into infinity? Without curvature, the concept of a complete, finite planet loses meaning. A flat Earth could imply that the universe itself is fundamentally different, that space and time bend according to rules we have never imagined. In practical terms, human life would become far more difficult. Transportation across vast distances would be unreliable due to distorted gravity. Climate would become extreme and unstable. Resources would gather disproportionately in certain regions, sparking endless conflict over habitable zones. Civilization as we know it might not even be possible. Instead of one interconnected world, there would be a fractured, unstable landscape, constantly reshaped by forces no one could fully control. Ultimately, if Earth were flat, it would not simply change geography. It would destroy the framework of natural laws upon which our universe rests. The very fact that our world is a sphere is not an accident. It is a necessity of physics. A flat Earth is less a planet and more a paradox, one that could only exist if reality itself were entirely different from what we experience. So here's the final thought. The round Earth is not just the shape of our planet, it is the foundation of life as we know it. A flat Earth would not give us new horizons to explore. It would collapse the horizon entirely. And if you enjoyed this journey into the impossible, don't forget to subscribe, because the next What If could take us to places even stranger than the edge of the world.